Hi everyone and welcome to Inderes TV. Today we're going to talk about Remedy with analyst Atte Riikola. Hi.
Hi.
So there has been a lot of drama about and around Remedy this fall, but since we haven't been talking about it in this channel before, let's dig deeper into it before we go through the drama. So if you would say in a nutshell what Remedy does, what do they do?
Yeah, it's a gaming company, one of the rare independent AAA video game companies that are listed basically. So most of them are acquired or under some bigger publisher, but Remedy is still independent. And basically what means AAA, it means like big budget video games. So from Remedy's perspective, it's typically like, let's say one gaming project can be like the production is from 30 to 60 million euros, and then you put marketing on top of that, like 10 to 30% of the budget. So those are big project, and take one that kind of game takes to develop, like let's say at least 3 years, maybe 4 years is like more realistic and schedule. So it's big productions, and so it's still quite a hit-driven business. So you have to wait for many years to get the title ready, and after the shipping we see how it goes.
And what are their most famous titles?
Remedies, they are already like 30 years old, so it's like one of the oldest gaming companies already. So they became famous. The first title was Death Rally, but it was early 2000s when they published Max Payne, and it was like the first big hit game. After that there is Alan Wake and Control that are like the most famous gaming brands, and nowadays Remedy owns all the rights and like the IPs for the Alan Wake and Control, and nowadays Max Payne is under Rockstar, but at this point Remedy is still like developing Max Payne remake with Rockstar, so that like subcontracting project, but otherwise they are developing mostly those own IPs.
But to all non-gamers out there, those are big names.
Yeah,
big titles. Yeah. So what does the business model look like? How do they operate?
Yeah, like I said, it's a project business still. So you develop the game, invest the money in it, and after nowadays Remedy is most like self-publishing the game. So when the game is published, it's nowadays typically on the different kind of digital channels on PCs and consoles. So then the game starts to sell, and nowadays always the launch moment is important the next couple of months after that. But nowadays good quality games can sell like really long times in those digital channels. So let's say the most of the revenue comes in the first 3 years maybe.
Okay.
So basically the idea is to in that time try to generate as much as possible compared to the production and marketing budget. Yeah. So we could say that you should be able to make like at least double the money invested in the project. Then you can say it's been like pretty okay, because there is always, like we know, big budget games, and it's always hard to predict how the consumers are gonna think about the game. So there is always pretty high risk, so you need to get high reward for that risk taken in those projects.
So you got to get double the money back in 1 to 3 years.
Basically you invest the money for the first 3 or 4 years, and after that you still need to sell the game for the next, let's say, 3 years. So it's long period of time, and on that sense also you need to get enough return for the money invested in those projects.
Yeah. Okay, so talking about big projects and big names, the Firebreak was the game that they launched this summer.
Yeah.
And it didn't succeed, and they made some changes to it in September, and then they decided to kind of kill the project, or is it still alive? I don't know. And then the CEO changed, and there was a profit warning, and everything was kind of totally chaos. Could you shed some light on this?
Yeah, Remedy is known for like single player, story driven, and very visually outstanding games, and the Firebreak was their first multiplayer game, so it was like co-op multiplayer game. So they take like a new bet and tried to expand also to the multiplayer genre, and
So that
and
was
it was like
really.
it was like a smaller project for them. It was like the budget was roughly 30 million. For example, Alan Wake was roughly 60 million, so it was much smaller project for them, but of course there was expectations that if they are able to crack the code and get into that new genre, it would of course expand Remedy's growth opportunities. But now we saw that it didn't work out, and it's really hard if you get unsuccessful launch with a multiplayer game and you don't get the momentum and the players flowing into the game. It's really hard to try to get it back on track after that, even though what are you it's really hard. So now it seems like, or at least I think that they have already get the team. There was when the launch happened, there was 50 people working still on the game and doing updates on that. But now I think the team is much smaller, and there is the one good thing was that the game was from day one. It was launched also on the PS Plus and Xbox Game Pass services. So Remedy got from Sony and Microsoft payments for that. So it was hedging the risk for the project, but I've been estimating that those amounts can be, let's say, roughly 10 million euros revenues for Remedy, but the project budget was 30 million. So now the game sales are not performing. It's close to zero at this point, basically. So it's gonna be a loss-making project for Remedy, but in the big picture, it was the smallest project that they had under development, so it's not that dramatic, even though of course everybody was hoping that it would be good, but the stock price was already reflecting that, or market didn't believe that the game will succeed, so it wasn't that dramatic for the share anymore when the profit warning and that happened.
Yeah, so then came the profit warning, and then the CEO changed.
It's prior CEO was working at Remedy since 2016, so very very long period of time. And of course they're not. They have if you look at the Remedy strategy from that time, they have been developing all the time to the right direction. So they were very small and only making those subcontracting project still on 2016. Then they decided that now they want to become a true multi-project studio that is owning its own IPs and self-publishing those games. And now we are in the situation that they have still two major projects under full production, and they have been launching games, and it's they are now the multi-project studio. So the strategy has progressed, but still there has been bumps on the road, and especially last years haven't been that good. So of course at some point somebody has to
do something,
just to take the responsibility for the bad performance. Of course it's all the time it's always the CEO who has to carry that burden. So after now the founder Markus Mäki is the CEO at this moment, but Remedy is looking for a new CEO. But I think there is not going to be any dramatic change in the company's strategy. So it's there. I believe they are going to focus on their bread and butter, that is those single player story driven games, and there is now coming those on the coming years.
They have two on the way. And those are
in my papers, of course, Remedy doesn't publish for the investors when they are expecting the games to launch, because every time you're launching a big project, you want to get the marketing buzz and everything going on. So you first launch the games. When it's time to launch the games, you announce it to the players first, not the investors. So and now the Max Payne remake, like I said before, it's like a subcontracting project for Remedy. So that means that Rockstar, who owns the IP, is basically paying all the bills. And Remedy is getting already, when they're developing the game, some margin on that. So it's like a profitable project since the day one, and bring in cash flow. And when the Max Payne launches, we are estimating it's going to happen already next year. Then after the project budget and marketing budget is like recouped, then there is some royalty opportunity also for Remedy. So we've been estimating it can be something like, let's say, from 10 to 30% from the game sales after all the costs have been deducted. So there is like royalty opportunity, and we know that Max Payne, there is like, it's very nostalgic IP. There is like lots of potential that, so also the royalty component can be pretty good for Remedy, because like everybody knows, Rockstar is one of the hottest gaming studios in the world, because they are developing the GTA, and the GTA 6 is coming also next year. So they have like a very big audience and reach. So it's interesting to see how the Max Payne remake launches when the time is right. So, but we don't know, of course, yet when it's going to happen.
When it's going to happen, yeah, okay.
But it's been pretty long in the production already, so it should be pretty in the pretty end of the production pipeline, I think.
Okay. And did you mention the other one?
And the other game is Control 2.
Okay.
And it's also been now in a production for a while already, but we are estimating that it could launch on 2027. And that's like it's like the most important project from Remedy. If looking Remedy as an investment, that's the make it or break it project basically.
Okay.
So Remedy is self-publishing the game. There is a partner called Annapurna who has also rights to make, for example, TV series or movies about Remedy's IPs.
Yeah.
But Remedy is still like getting most of the revenues because they are self-publishing the game. So if Control 2 is a hit, it's gonna be like a major driver for the Remedy's share.
Okay.
And there is like I think there is a good opportunity that the game will be successful, because we know that the first Control game was launched in 2019, and it was already like it could get like a very good reviews from the critics, and also it's been selling very well. So at this point it has sold over 5 million copies, and it's also been available on those different kind of platforms, and there has been over 20 million players. So there is like a good opportunity that the game will sell really well, because there is now it's not like unknown IP anymore. Like in 2009 it's like just new IP, and of course it's always harder to break in with the new IP. Now it's like already known, and there is the fan base, so there is like, I think there is a good chance that if the quality is just like Remedy's previous games, for example, Awake 2 was like a really high quality game, and Control was also at this. I enjoyed to play it a lot, so there is like there is opportunity that it will be a successful game.
Okay, so that's the big thing to wait for. Yeah, okay. But if you look at the situation now, how is the financial situation in the company?
Yeah, Remedy is still like they have a strong balance sheet. There is still like was end of Q3 there was like 36 million euros.
And that's
cash.
really important.
Yeah, and of course when you're doing like big project, and there is always uncertain how the game will. Is it gonna be a successful launch or not? You have to have like a very and there is like lots of lumpiness in the cash flows, depending on the game sales, and of course if you have a partner when they're paying those development fees during the development time. But you have to have a strong balance sheet, and even though the Firebreak didn't succeed, there is like lots of cash left, and that's of course very very important that you can now invest on those upcoming projects and also publish them, because it's always like you have to have money also to market the games. So on that sense, Remedy has a very good situation still.
Solid ground. Yeah. Okay. Good. So, but what happens now then? They will just focus on the new games, and the CEO will stay. They are looking for a CEO, and
basically next couple of years there is like the current portfolio that is already on the market. They're still like trying to get more sales for the Alan Wake 2. For example, now they mentioned in the Q3 report that they have been bringing the game to the Chinese market, and there's been like early good signs that it's also performing there, and the Control is still generating sales, and of course there is still coming some of those B2B revenues from the Firebreak, but I think that team is gonna scale down next year. But the most important is now that they just develop those 2 games that are in the pipeline, and there is also a third project that is still unknown. It's in the proof of concept phase.
Okay.
But it's like, I think it's highly likely that it's gonna be Alan Wake 3, of course, because if you played Alan Wake 2, you know that the story could continue on that, and so it would.
So that's a possibility.
Yeah, it's a pretty pretty sure possibility that it's gonna be an Alan Wake 3. So that's also on the pipeline towards the end of this decade. But yeah, now next couple of years, it's important to get the Max Payne remake ready and then launch the Control 2, and then we see what happens. And that's basically, if that would be the scenario that the Control 2 would flop for some reason, then that would be really bad for Remedy, and the financial situation would not be good anymore after that, because it's that so big project. But at this point, I still believe that it's gonna be a successful. It's gonna pay off, and there is like, of course, lots of different kind of scenarios, and that kind of game project, the revenue coming from it in the, let's say, first 3 years, it can, if it's a flop, if it's a flop, it's the revenues, let's say, tens of millions, but it should be like hundreds of millions of revenue.
Okay, that's a lot of money.
And the variation and if you look at the biggest games in the market, they can be like closer to billions of euros nowadays. For example, the GTA 6, of course, Remedy is not that big, but still there is like potential to make revenues. It's gonna be in the hundreds of millions if it's a successful game.
Yeah, that sounds really like a lot.
Yeah.
So how do you evaluate this kind of entity?
Yeah, that's like valuing gaming company, especially when you're doing this kind of big project. Of course, there's like lots of uncertainty and variation, so you have to make different kind of scenarios and try to just assess how probable it is that the game is going to be successful, or is it going to flop, and then compare different those scenarios, what kind of revenues it could bring in, and what kind of profits Remedy could make in this different kind of scenarios, and compare that to the current share price or market value. And that there you can, like, in the Remedy's case, at the current situation, you can basically draw different kind of, for example, in our report, I have made scenarios that where for example, those next games sell, like in the bear scenario, they sell like, let's say, 3 million copies in the next first 3 years. On the base case, it's like 5 million, and the optimistic case is like plus 7 million for the first 3 years. So you can draw from the, for example, DCF model, it's the value of the share is something between 8 euros to 50 euros with that. So it's like a very, really narrow range. So, so now at this point, the stock is trading at somewhere around 13 euros. So there is, I think the sentiment is a little bit bearish after the Firebreak didn't succeed. But now, at least I still believe that the news flow that is coming for the, let's say, next 12 months or next 2 years, it's going to get more positive, because there is like the Firebreak was like a gunshot for Remedy, but now they're bringing up the bazooka, and there is coming those 2 big projects that are really like, they're going to generate a lot of interest, and I believe that they have good opportunity to succeed, and that will like get the sentiment better also for the share. And with the current share price, there is also, if you look at the longer term earnings potential or Remedy's targets, for example, what they are trying to achieve, if that scenario happens, it's now like really cheap at the moment. But there is still like lots of uncertainty, and at this point it seems like investors doesn't believe the story anymore that they are gonna able to make. But I still believe that they are gonna be able to make the next games that are high quality, and they are gonna sell well. So that's why I'm optimistic, and I've been also saying to investors that if you believe that the next games will be successful, then you should invest in Remedy. But if you don't believe it, don't invest. No. it's like you can take the both side on this stock. Yeah.
So the recommendation is then?
Yeah, we have at this point buy recommendation, and that's because I still believe that now because the sentiment it's so bad, and the next in the future the news flow will be more positive. So I believe that it's gonna start to get better in the next 12 months. So but
a buy recommendation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Atte, for all these comments.
Thanks.
Thank you. And if you want to know more about Remedy, go into inderes.se. And if you want to discuss with Atte or others about the company, you can join our forum.